Hello, Sabrina.
Hi, Tim.
Are you there? Did you see those pictures of Abergavenny on the
I
screen?
did. I did. It's conjuring
Oh,
up all the memories.
it's so bloody miserable. I'm in Cambridge, not there, and this Saturday I'm going to have to go out into my own garden. I bought fairy lights. I'm going to get completely drunk and send myself home at 11 o'clock. It's the only way.
Good times.
So I'm imagining that there are probably, oh God, 400 or 500. No, actually, I tell you what, it's you. So there's 800 people out there at this very moment, absolutely gagging. I suspect that already they're cheering and waving and stomping their feet. If they're not, do it now, everybody. Cheer, wave, stomp your feet. No, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. Sabrina, where are you at the moment?
I'm in Yorkshire at home.
Oh, beautiful. Okay, and what are you going to cook for us today?
So, in true Sabrina style, I'm going to overfeed. I'm going to do two dishes from my new book, Simply, which is super easy. The first one is what I call life-changing kebab, and you'll see why when you eat it. It's so easy to make. It's called a tepsi kebab. Tepsi means Turkish word for tray. It's a kebab you don't have to shape or fry or barbecue. Just push it into an oven-proof dish and then pop it in the oven. It's delicious.
That's
and
easier than going to a kebab shop. That's amazing.
Well, yeah, I tell you what, it's an antidote to that for sure. And then on the side of that, I'm going to do a yogurt and spinach dish, which in Persian we call mast or espenaj, which just means yogurt and spinach, and it's the perfect accompaniment to this kebab.
Gorgeous. Okay, start us off.
Right, okay. So now, those of you who are going to do the cook along, you would have seen your ingredients list. So I'm not going to talk quantities because you'll obviously be able to access the recipe as well yourselves. I'm just going to show you how easy it is to make these recipes, because I think sometimes we are all, including myself, put off when maybe we read a recipe and we think, oh, I could never do that. But then when you see somebody making it, you're like, I could totally do that. So this is one of those recipes. So for those of you that are cooking along with me, I'll try my best to stay at an even keel and a gentle speed, but just know you really can't mess my food up. That's what I do best. It's nice and simple. So I've got.
Okay, if I drink along with you rather than cook, I've got no ingredients here.
You can drink along. I mean,
yes.
to be fair, that's the kind of party we want, really, isn't it? I know it's Wednesday, but Wednesday during COVID is like a Friday anyway. So
exactly. It's always Friday with COVID.
Hope you're all drinking something delicious. I'm on water, which is very dull, but then it just saves accidents with this, doesn't it? So first things first is I've got lamb. Now I know you guys have spectacular lamb over in Wales, so I'm counting on you to use some really good stuff. All you need is lamb that's got high fat content, which you can get everywhere, not judging supermarkets. You can get 20% lamb, and it's essential for this kebab because it just gives it loads of flavour, but it will also release a lot of the oil. So if you want to, make it a bit more low fat, you just dab it and it'll be fine. So got my lamb in the bowl, nicely minced, and then I've got a few other ingredients. In here, I've got an onion that's just basically minced, so very finely chopped, but we don't want too much liquid to go into the mixture to make it sloppy. So if you've mixed it in a mixer, just strain off any excess liquid. If you are going to chop it by hand, very, very finely chopped is the key, or grated even, and then strained off. Or if you're lazy like me, spring onions, no fuss, just chuck them in.
I'm really fascinated by this as an ingredient because I mean, obviously it's got loads and loads of moisture, but I imagine that probably cooks out fairly quickly.
So it does have loads of moisture, but there's the fat will kind of sort of swim around it, and it kind of keeps it moist. But I have got a little secret ingredient that really helps, and I think Tim, you'll probably be every foodie that I've said something to be like, what? So I'll talk you through it. I've got some parsley here. If you don't have parsley, you can use coriander, just any soft herbs that you've got, chuck it in. I'm not too pedantic about things like this. The recipe calls for half a red pepper. Now, I've got these two little red peppers. They're not spicy ones, they're just baby peppers. So I'm going to use those. You can use green, you can use yellow, use your orange. I've got 2 cloves of garlic, and I've got 2 tablespoons of tomato puree. Tomato puree, good, stable, store-cupboard ingredient, bags of flavour into this. If like me, sometimes you're feeling a bit lazy or you don't have garlic granules is the one thing you need to get into your store.
That's great. Yes.
So easy, and then you don't have to faff around with the garlic itself.
For a long time, I thought that tomato puree was a really bad sort of cheat idea. And I've
No,
realised over the last
not
few
at
years,
all.
there's been so much variation in tomatoes throughout the year. We get about a month of fantastic tomatoes, then they're rubbish the rest of the time. I'm gone right back to puree now. It's lovely stuff.
It is lovely. So it depends on what you use it for. Like sometimes I think in the 80s when I was a kid, I used to smear it on a piece of bread and then think that pizza if I shoved it under the grill. But
With cheddar cheese on top. Yes.
yeah, we've all been there. But you know, it comes from countries that have a glut and surplus of tomato production, and then they all eventually do end up making puree with it and drying it in the sun. So why not? If that's almost artisanal, if you will. So why not?
It's kind of grated and mashed and then heated in the sun on flat plates, isn't it?
Exactly that, and then they make all different kinds of tomato products, from pickling to sauces to whatnot, and every country, not just Italy. So then I've got two other ingredients. Now, one of them is a bit of a specialist product, but you can find it everywhere online. It's called pul biber. Supermarkets sell it, or sometimes Aleppo pepper. It's a softer, milder chili flake from the south region of Turkey, where this particular tepsi kebab recipe comes from. It's a little bit sort of bitter, but it's got lemony notes to it. It's not as punchy as chili flakes that you'll get in the shops. If you are going to use those chili flakes, substitute 1 tablespoon of this for half a teaspoon of that, okay? You'll be absolutely fine. And then lastly, the secret crazy, what the hell ingredient is half a teaspoon of bicarbonate of soda.
Get away.
I knew you'd say that.
You're kidding me.
It's an unusual one, but you know, I would like to say, yes, I've, you know, sort of born and raised Persian and I know all about, but actually, being self-taught, a lot of these tricks have come to me later in life through travels and whatnot.
Yeah.
Both Persians and Turks use bicarbonate of soda in their minced lamb kebabs. So sometimes on big skewers, etc., because it lightens it. And
yeah, I was just thinking it's going to mix with the tomatoes, make them less acidic, but it's also going to create CO2. It's going to fluff up the meat.
Fantastic, and it almost makes it lighter and aerated and just juicy,
yes,
but
yes.
really half a teaspoon. Any more and then you can start to sort of taste it in there, but it is absolutely
it's
magical.
like the Scandinavian thing where they use mineral water in meatballs, fizzy water in meatballs.
Yeah,
but it's cleverer than that because it doesn't work until it gets cooked. Yeah. I love it. I love it.
But you can't put it in this one, otherwise it would be swimming and it would kind of stew. But, yeah. So basically, I've got my parsley. That's the first things first. And you want to know how rough and ready I am. If you're like, oh God, I'm not really good at chopping. I mean, neither am I. I'm going to try not to look at the camera too much while I'm doing it. This is a very sharp knife and I might lose a finger. No, I won't lose a finger. Don't worry. I hope not, because I'm on my own in the kitchen. There's nobody in the house. There'll be hell on. Yorkshire Ambulance Services have to come out to reattach my fingers during this demo. But the most important thing about this is you don't want to stress about getting this chopped too finely. I think with recipes, a lot of people get a little bit nervous about being perfect or what they perceive to be perfect once they've seen a chef do it. Rough and ready home cooking. Middle Eastern cooking, Turkish cooking is all about the home cooking. Okay?
I'm really intrigued by the amount of that stuff you're using, because I mean we're used to the sort of the Rick Stein trick with the which is parsley sort of sprinkled lightly as a, and you're using that as a vegetable. I mean there's a half a ton of it in there.
We really, really do. And actually, Turks are one thing, but Persians, our entire cuisine is made up of herbs and citrus. So even more so we have that. Now, next ingredient is I've got this pepper. So I'm just going to cut out the stalk and the seeds very haphazardly.
This is where I wish I could get a zoom on you, because you're doing that
need to know if there's something you don't.
That is
well, as long as my
absolutely
finger's
superb.
intact, then we'll say it beautifully, eh? Beware, the one thing I'll teach you guys is, in case you didn't know, I didn't know for many years, but obviously long before I became a chef.
I think
knives are blunted by pepper. Knife on the side, and it just prevents your knives from getting blunted and you having to constantly sharpen them. It's just a little tip, because a lot of people.
Hang on. Okay, so I lost you there for a second. Are you saying that peppers actually blunt knives?
But it's really, really lazy like me. You can actually just pop them into the mixer and just chop them again. Try not to release too much liquid.
I'm hoping that everybody else isn't getting these freezes, but I'm getting quite a few. You appear to be chopping peppers, which is.
But you just want them to be like, that's finally built to live, but you won't because it's all so quick. I mean, come on, we're going to do two dishes and cram in an interview here, so you know we're good to go. Peppers in. Nice.
Phenomenal, nice skills. I'm loving it.
I know, terrible. And then in with the bicar and your pulver or Aleppo pepper. And then tomato puree. I'm not going to lie, that's not exactly perfectly 2 tablespoons. I'm just like, those kind of ingredients, I just go into there and squish them in. So I'm just going to sort of crush, just lean on the garlic cloves, which will enable me to sort of crack open the skins and get them peeled nice and quickly. And then I'm going to put them, you can either do it in a little Parmesan grater, but I'm just going to put them through a garlic crusher because life is too short to crush garlic with a blade of a knife. I'm sorry, unless you are a kitchen or restaurant chef. I mean, it's mind-numbingly dull and slow.
So I'm going to have to just pause you for a second. We lost you a moment ago, and both myself and Kerry and Anne Robertson are fascinated by what you said about the peppers blunting the knives. Can you repeat that bit? That was brilliant.
Yeah, so basically, the one tip I have is like when you're preparing certain ingredients, peppers specifically in this conversation, but peppers, aubergines, grapes, tomatoes, all known for blunting the knives with their skin surface. So all those ingredients, much better for you to use a serrated knife.
Yes.
You get these like 5-pound sausage or tomato knives with a
Okay, and frozen
specific
again.
Swiss brand, nice and easy.
Yeah.
All right, so in with the garlic. Did you hear my bit about crushing garlic with a blade of a knife being mind-numbingly dull?
No, I didn't. Please tell me more. I'm fascinated by this because at the moment, the ghost of Elizabeth David is rotating in her grave like you wouldn't believe. You're a bad person for using a garlic press, apparently. And she's frozen again in the middle of using a garlic press. I'm getting a photograph of this so I can show it to people. Are you still there? You hear me now?
So I don't know. I lost a bit of you. I lost a bit of you guys. So in case you didn't hear that, I never crush garlic with the blade of a knife and salt because it just takes too long, quite frankly.
I did it at somebody's house the other day and broke the knife, so I won't be doing that again either.
It just takes forever. Like you just use a little grater. Now, okay, so that's all my ingredients in there. Then I'm going to go in with the onions. Almost forgot that.
Okay, this is the bit.
And you can forget that because I'm a terrible slapdash cook at home. So have confidence.
This is the bit I'm excited about. I really want to know about the onions now. Are you going to drain the liquid first? Was that what you just did over the sink?
So basically what I've done, because I do this all the time, I've got these mini food processors. And what I've done is I've just blitzed it, I've pulsed it so that it gets really fine, but it doesn't mince the onion, releasing all of its juice. So actually,
it's finely ground, but not to the point of the cells breakdown. Well, that makes sense.
Yeah. It can handle a little bit of liquid, that's fine. But if you see that there's a lot of liquid seeped out, there's always a save for that. And I'm just saying, just get a sieve out and just, push a little bit of it to get the excess moisture out. I don't want people to worry too much. That's kind of the point of it. Don't stress yourself out. Otherwise, cooking is not a pleasure. It becomes a chore. Okay, last ingredients in there. Good with pepper. I'm absolutely mad about pepper and I put loads.
What is the appliance? I love the appliance.
Thanks, man. I'm not going to lie, the only reason I got this is because I'm always doing 3 things at once, and it really helps. It allows me to stir and do this.
It looks like the kind of thing that needs to be diffused by an expert. It's gorgeous. Actually, maybe it'll.
I don't have chefy kit.
I've got a lightsaber, so maybe
processors and mixers. My favourite kits are. These are just the nice, easy things. I don't need anything more than that. And if you strip it back, the mini processor and a garlic and like a microplane grater is my favorite thing.
Oh.
So, put the ingredients in there. Now, this is my little luxury treat. I know it sounds silly, but I tell you what, after years.
The rubber glove. I love it. I have them in my own kitchen. I have sexy black ones, and they're amazingly helpful.
You name it. I now wear gloves. When I was catering, I didn't. So this prevents you from having yellow and red fingers, because it doesn't matter how many times you shower, especially with turmeric. Nightmare. No turmeric in here, but still, I'm treating myself basically. So all you have to do is, and if we weren't talking, this would take a minute. All you have to do is mix this. Now, this action in Persian is what you call kofta, or kufte if you're Turkish. Kofta means to pummel or to beat, and it's the same word that has become kofta, keftedes, gone to sort of Turkish, all different kind of languages. So you really want to beat this mixture and really kind of pummel it, take your frustration.
Is there any Turkish tradition of using a mortar and pestle to crush the meat?
Out of it, see your ex-boss's face in it, you know, if that's what gets it done. Evenly mixed, and when I mean evenly, you want to, sorry?
Is there any tradition of using a pestle and mortar to mince the meat for people, you know, for where you don't have a mincer? No.
No, if you don't have a mincer, I've done this in this the place where I learned this recipe is actually really funny. It's a place called Antakya or Hatay. It's Antioch, the old road.
Okay, yeah. And a touch more Yorkshire internet.
Coast of Antioch in the south, and they just started off with a shoulder of lamb. And they gave me, like, along with all the other ingredients, and I tell you what, they were really impressed.
And this is too nice. Yeah.
I was so eager not to fail, you know.
Oh, lovely. I think we're still getting a touch of the Yorkshire internet there.
Because they were like, she's a chef. So everything's evenly mixed.
Right.
Can you see it?
Yes, absolutely.
Can you see it? All evenly mixed. Lovely. Sorry, I'm just to check, because I can't tell if you can hear me. No, okay. Now, this is literally the hardest part of this recipe. It's not hard. Gosh.
This is fascinating because in most sort of meatball or meatloaf recipes, you're trying really hard not to overwork it and not to compress it, but you're relying on that bicarb to reinflate it, aren't you?
You don't actually need the bicarb. It's just one of the particular techniques of a recipe. But the most important thing to know is that Western and Eastern meatballs are a totally different process. Kofta, meaning to pummel, means you break the meat proteins down to create a smooth mixture, rather than Western meatballs that have, let's say, breadcrumbs or softened bread or any of that in it. It's just a different thing, you know. Kebabs don't have fillers per se, but again, we mince and mix those down. So it's just the technique and sort of traditions of a different culture. What I like to do is, I've got this. This is a cast iron dish. It's actually a pan, but it goes in the oven, so it's the perfect thing. And it conducts heat from the bottom as well, so it just gives you a little acceleration to sort of really grill it. Not essential. You can use a cake tin. You can use Pyrex. Use whatever you've got. Frying pan that's oven friendly. No drama. Okay. So
there's an even element of sort of frying in its own fat on the underside with that. That'll be great.
This is just nice and easy, and 18 minutes in the oven, all you need. So I'm just going to pop it in the oven. Oven is salting. Now, my oven goes to 280 fan, which is about 300. Some ovens are 260 or 270. Don't sweat it. Just whack your oven on to the highest heat that you can achieve with fan. And if you don't have fan, just the highest heat. And if you don't have fan and it doesn't go too high, just let it get hot for about a good half an hour. I mean, if you've got a pizza oven, this is the perfect thing to go into. Absolutely, that. It's essentially done in a wood-fired oven in trays like this, authentically. So, next ingredient, next recipe, which is quite traditional, because to be fair, we don't ever serve roasted meat without yogurt. Certainly not in Iran and in Turkey. Many of these countries, for us, yogurt is like having ketchup on the table. It's a condiment. But for Western benefits. We call it dips. Sometimes we don't really care what you call it, as long as it's on the table, even if it's plain yogurt.
Is a sharper yogurt than we're used to domestically here?
I mean, this is a bog standard supermarket yogurt, but it's a Greek style. Traditionally, our yogurts in the East resemble what we know here as labneh, which is basically strained and it's salty. But that doesn't matter because I make sure that all the recipes in my books are always tested using supermarket produce as a minimum benchmark. So then I know whoever at home is cooking is going to get the same exact result as me, because that matters. So, right, so we've got different set of ingredients, obviously. Still got my garlic crusher. In here, this is my favourite bit of kit. It's not mine. I didn't purchase it. My mother did. It's the smallest colander you're ever going to see. Honestly, every week the Amazon van is here like 15 times.
You learned a lot of your cooking from your mum, did you not?
Sorry?
You learned a lot of cooking from your mum, is that true?
No, I did not. Not at all. My mother has never spent 10 minutes in the kitchen in my entire lifetime, other than to critique me or tell me that something needs salt or lemon juice.
Or tell you that your colander is too big, probably.
Yeah, exactly. No, she definitely inspired my love of food, but she certainly had nothing to do with me cooking, other than to sort of gently nudge me into the kitchen when I was a kid and sort of encourage me to have a play where she wasn't allowed to. So now, truth be told, I'm doing half this recipe at home. So I've got, the full recipe calls for a tub of yogurt, which is 500 grams. I'm only going to go half, because just tonight it's just me and my mum. And then I've got some spinach. Now this tiny little ball is 125 grams of spinach, parboiled and then drained off and rinsed cold and then strained of its excess moisture. A little bit is fine. You don't want to carry too much because it makes the yogurt sludgy. Now,
spinach is just the amazing disappearing vegetable, isn't it? I mean, a sack of it reduces to a couple of spoonsful.
Do you know what? I love it, but yeah, you really, really do need to have a heck of a lot of it to make it pound, don't you?
But God, it's worth it.
So I'm just going to candidly chuck in half of this yogurt into there, because it goes so well. Any yogurt dish, even just a dollop of yogurt, it doesn't have to be this particular recipe, goes so well with kebabs. Imagine you get a wrap, a piece of the kebab, and yogurt, and a little bit of onion, and then roll it up, and you know, have a moment, basically. So I've got garlic. Have a moment is the polite way of saying it. I'm very emotive when it comes to food, and I can't hide. So I'm going in with a garlic clove for the full recipe, but I'm just going to use half of it here. It's a small one actually, so it's not so bad. Right? Even if you like garlic, don't get brave and think, oh, I'll put 2 in there, because tried and tested, 1 large garlic clove to a full pack of yogurt, which is 500 grams. Otherwise, you're going to be like, you'll frighten all the vampires in the locality away. Then I've got some walnuts here. Walnuts are traditional in this dish, but would mostly be on top of this dish. But I actually really like the texture and crunch of nuts throughout the dish. Don't have to use walnut, use whatever nuts you've got. If you've got, I don't know, pine nuts, if somebody has a nut allergy, pine nuts being a seed will prevent that nut allergy from taking.
Wow, is that true? I love that. What a great idea.
Brazil nuts and pine nuts are both seeds. So if you do have nut allergies, obviously still check with your doctor. Yeah. But if you know categorically that you're fine with pine nuts, then obviously you can substitute that, or use, if you've got no allergies, then pistachios or even pumpkin seeds, whatever you got. You want texture. It's not being fussy and having, oh, you've got to have this. Okay. So
now, I don't know if I've got your agent on the Q&A here, but somebody's just said, can Sabrina tell us the name of her book again, as I love her style and flavors and everything in it. Look, whoa, what a beautiful volume. It's so gorgeous.
It's there. So it's called Simply because my food is neither east nor west. It's kind of simply Sabrina food. Nice and easy, achievable and easy to get ingredients for. So I'm going to put a handful of the walnuts in there, and I'm going to leave a little bit for garnish, because why not? I think garnishes are okay as long as it contains the ingredient that you're using. Don't like.
Well, how a reason? Otherwise, it's just faffery.
I just don't like to send people out to go and get ingredients just to put on the top if you're not going to use it inside, unless it's a flavour element. ingredient.
Precisely.
Now, my next ingredient in here is sumac. Now, sumac, believe it or not, grows all over the UK. Readily available in supermarkets, is a citrus flavour, nothing more than that. They often call it the purple citrus. I'm going to bring it close so you can see.
I absolutely love this stuff, and it's a great friend to yogurt, isn't it? It just goes perfectly with it.
Do you know what the traditional use of sumac is?
Go ahead, tell me all.
Basically, Persians put it on the table with salt and pepper, and the only job that sumac has in our country, we are the producers of sumac, is to sprinkle it onto fatty lamb kebabs, because that citric flavour cuts through the grease. That's it. It's like a palate cleanser.
Yeah. God, I wonder what sumac looks like.
Google it, guys. It grows on trees in England, and you would probably walk past it not knowing what it was. They look like almost bunches of grapes hanging in a sort of scarlet cluster, and then they dry those. They're not berries, even though they call them sumac berries, but you dry them down. They almost kind of dry like potpourri, and then you grind them down. But there are 14 different varieties, 2 white. They're poisonous, but sumac is really high in antioxidants, but more important, just packed full of flavour, lovely citrusy note. Wherever you don't have lemon, a little bit of sumac kind of does the same job.
Just when I thought I got the hang of this new ingredient, there's 14 types. I love it.
Well, yeah, so my point being is don't go on the pill far. Thinking, oh, look at sumac, because they all look the same, but then you get home and you're like, oh, that doesn't
Oh my God, no.
That wasn't the right sort of type. And then good old salt and pepper. And just keep in mind that when you season yogurt or cold dishes with salt, salt takes time to develop in hot dishes, let alone cold dishes. So don't just keep packing in the salt. Make the dish, leave it for a while, and then come back to it after about 5-10 minutes, and then you can see if you want to adjust the salt again.
It's a good one. Jane Cook in the our Q&A section here, what a great name, by the way, has just asked if you can't get sumac, can you use lemon?
You can do a little bit, or you can just leave it out. It's really no bother at all. I always sometimes people feel pressure to replace an ingredient with another one, and I just think, no, just leave it out. You can leave it out, or if you want to, you can put dried oregano or maybe a little bit of thyme or something like that. Don't feel the pressure to replace it. Persians would never put sumac in this. So if you want to do it authentically, leave the sumac out. I just think
lovely.
Nice flavour. Okay. Right, just going to give everything a good old mix. And we serve everything Persian style, either flat laid out and spread out on a plate or a platter, or into a mountain shape. And this is really an imprint of the Persian Empire, where abundance, plenty, and how you served people and what you served them was, kind of pivotal, quite crucial to the deal you may have been doing at that banquet that evening. And it's a tradition that, thousands of years later hasn't left us.
But it makes such a difference, too, to see it spread out on the table like that.
I just think so. A lot of times people ask me about bowl food, and I'm like, oh, I don't do bowl food because we don't do it in our culture. Imagine you cooking 20 dishes and you invite your guests in, and that wow factor isn't visible because you can't see inside the bowl. So we like to show off a little bit, if you will, but why not if you spent all that time cooking for your guests? I think you deserve to, quite frankly.
Well, culturally, it's a vital part of hospitality, isn't it? To display plenty and to share it.
Absolutely. And the one thing I will say is with Persians and also Turks, with Persians and Turks, if there's not leftovers and enough to refeed everyone 3 times over, then you haven't done your job as a host. Because we do like to be plentiful and quite generous. So there you go, that's that. Now a little drizzle of olive oil. We wouldn't traditionally do that, and if you're trying to sort of cut back on the Corona Stone calories, which we all are, I admit it, ditch the olive oil, no worries. I've kept a little bit of sumac as a pinch there just because it gives it a vibrance and a little bite as you taste sort of your first bit of it. And then you've got lovely walnuts to go onto it there.
Oh, that's gorgeous.
And then we can show you.
I haven't eaten yet. I'm starving to death. That looks amazing.
I'm so pleased. And so
I love the way you just effortlessly chuck that together, and yet it looks absolutely superb. I'd be so thrilled to get that in a restaurant.
I do think at the end of the day, good food doesn't need to be complicated. And when I see some sort of recipes that, you know, they daunt me. I'd be like, oh my God, I would never do half of those things. Just because, you know, kind of, if you don't know a food, you know, it doesn't matter who you are, you can be a professional cook and sort of feel a bit daunted by it. And you just think, oh, maybe it's hard, I won't make it. But I always try and strip down my ingredients to make things as absolutely cook friendly at home for all skill sets. I don't want people to go, oh God, I'm never going to cook anything like that. I want people to cook loads from my books and just be like, get confidence from cooking perhaps things that they've never tried or seen before. So,
but I love that you make the effort. You put extra effort into how it actually looks on the plate, which is intriguing.
Believe me, I'm the world's worst food stylist. Testament is check out my Instagram feed. It's awful, absolutely awful. Some of the stuff I make is just, I'm like, how did I get away with this bad presentation?
But it's not about ponciness. It's not about running the cloth around the edge of the plate. As you say, it's about, it's ingrained in you, the thing about plenty. I love it.
The only time that happens is when I'm doing pop-ups and I'm in other people's restaurants when they have to protect their reputation. Otherwise, I'm just all, there's enough food on the table to stun people. Just don't worry about those things. So you're just going to check on this.
Go for it.
Oh, wow. I think that's almost done, actually.
I want to be there to smell that.
Like an idiot, I forgot to set my timer, but it is.
I think you're looking pretty good. You're around, I think, around 15, 16 minutes.
Yeah, it's
250 degrees.
It's been on for a while, so it's absolutely scorching.
I would really love to be there because I bet the sound of that alone is amazing. You must be absolutely sizzling. It
is a sizzle fact.
Oh God, that is superb.
It's like the pizza of kebabs.
Well, okay, we're going to have a bit of a fight over this. How is that a kebab?
Well, kebab, if you didn't know, kebab just means to roast. Nothing more, nothing less. It doesn't mean meat. You can kebab an aubergine, you can kebab onions, vegetables, tomatoes. It comes from the Persian word to roast. Nothing more than that.
That's it.
And kebab, this originally is made in a big wood-fired oven, and I just sort of brought it back to London and thought, well, I was in London then, but brought it back to London thinking, I have to figure out a way to make that at home and see if it's going to work. And it did. And I'm glad it did, because it's probably about the most popular recipe in the book so far.
Really?
So oh my God. 2 recipes in, slightly sweaty, I'm not going to lie.
So obviously I don't get to eat it, which is a terrible thing.
You know, that's the, I would say it was the tragic part, but it doesn't mean my dinner's ready. So.
You've actually done this in a smaller size just so you and your mum can eat it, is that right?
Well, the kebab I've done full size because we literally, it does say 4 to 6 people, but in my household, I mean, there'd be a fight if I was the only one on the table. I've just done the yogurt in half size. That's it, because the kebab will nail 100%. So I haven't had any carbohydrates today, so I'm like, yeah, I'm going to get a big slab of rice next to it and some bread and go nuts on it.
Oh, I bet. Okay, well, look, we've got a few minutes. I want to ask you some questions. I'm really interested in what you said earlier about you're neither East nor West. You're just Sabrina, and I think that's really intriguing. It's absolutely fascinating. I'm sorry. I was just saying that I love the way you say you're neither East nor West. You're just Sabrina, and you.
Yeah.
Where your mum didn't teach you to cook. Where does your cooking come from? Where is the?
So, I would say because I grew up in England. I've been in England since I was 2, and that's 40 plus years now.
No, surely not.
Surely not. Oh, Vicar, no. No, so I've been here for a long time, and I grew up watching Madhu Jaffrey, Ken Hom, Delia even on telly when I was a kid, and I was just absolutely mesmerised watching these people cook on telly and what they were cooking and things I hadn't heard of, and I really kind of embraced it. And my mum was not allowed in the kitchen when she was a kid. She was always kind of ushered out, which is why she doesn't sort of cook. She doesn't know how to, but she loves to eat, loves food, loves different sort of flavors and experiences. So she kind of really drove my love for food, and that resulted in me taking over the kitchen when I was 11, and I've been cooking for 30 plus years now.
So do you pursue authenticity in recipes? Is that a big thing for you, or is it something completely different?
I mean, it depends, you know. If I was going to make, let's say, a Lancashire hot pot, I'm not going to make a Lancashire hot pot and put aubergine in it and then call it a Lancashire hot pot, if you see what I mean. If I'm going to make a beautiful Welsh dish, I won't then just put harissa in it and still call it that, because it's not authentic. I think there's a respectful way to pay homage to dishes. Like, you can say you're inspired by your love of this particular food. I've created this, or I do this at home because I couldn't find this ingredient, or whatever. In some things, like, you know, when I make bolognese, for example, I want authenticity. I don't preach it, but I like it at home. So I do like to be authentic in some things, but I certainly don't preach that to people, and I don't write that way in my books, because my number one priority when teaching and showing other people recipes is I want you to get it on the table as quick as possible without stressing yourself out, in as few ingredients and as cheap as possible, because I think that those are most people's priorities. Don't have time, aren't made of money, you know, kids, family, distractions, work, tired, all of those things. Well, we kind of all suffer from those issues. So I just, life's too short to faff and measure and get thermometers out. And there are enough amazing people who've written beautiful recipes like that. And I just thought, that's not who I am at home. So I just do what I do at home. And that's just kind of confident cooking. Just, oh, well, don't have this, stuff it, I'll just add that. You know, that's what I'm like.
So tell me about Simply. How did this come to your mind?
I mean, I kind of always just have a list in my phone of recipes, and as I travel and eat out and just go wherever I'm going, I keep a list of recipe titles, which are not me I just like to point out, not me ripping off other people's food.
No.
Oh, I like that. I don't know, Thai beef salad, and that was really nice. But, you know, obviously Thai beef salad is lovely, and, you know, but that's not really in my flavor remit. So what if I used lamb, and what if I substituted palm sugar with honey and, you know, coriander with dill, and, you know, my brain starts sort of looking at getting the similar flavor profile, but using different ingredients, and then what else would be nice to kind of mix in and complement, let's say, the lamb, for example, or the sauce, for example. And then
so you literally carry a notebook, and your inspirations, it sounds like, are coming from all over the place.
It's on my phone, and I tell you, I probably get the most inspiration from places like China and Southeast Asia that you wouldn't really link to the Middle East, but of course, actually, inexplicably, there are, well, not inexplicably, there are links, but you just have to delve deep and listen to people and learn from people as you travel and try different things and ask questions, and then it just happens. But more often than not, I'm chucking stuff around in the kitchen because I have a butternut squash and I want to do something with it, and I'm missing one ingredient, so I add something else, and I'm like, oh, Jesus, that was good. You know, so it just comes together, and I think that's probably the best way to be, because I'm a natural cook and I cook every single day, and I feed my family every single day, and that means I'm not just coming up with recipes to write in a book and hoping people like it. I'm cooking that all the time. And then my testing, you know, I get a lot of people saying, oh, well, I'd love to be a tester. I'm like, well, I don't ship it out to test, because how do you know what I'm trying to achieve?
Yeah.
And I'm making it up. So I test it my cookery classes, and, you know, that's actually a really good way, because I'm feeding it to a big group of people over a period of time, and it's much more effective than testing something once, twice, 3 times, if you know what I mean.
So these recipes are genuinely coming from a kind of developed...
Sorry, 1 second.
Go for it, yeah.
I'm having a senior moment.
Oh, sweetheart. Do you want to take
the temperature of that oven.
Do you want to take a seat? You okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. I just had to close the windows, otherwise all you can hear is the road traffic.
Oh, don't worry. Open the window. It'll be fine.
I can't, otherwise you're going to hear boom going past my house from that window. So. This
is a broadcasting first for me. I've never actually... There's nothing in the textbook. You look great. Perfect. Don't worry about it.
Glistening, glowing, sweating, dying.
Just perfectly. What is lovely about this is it sounds like, you catch it in terms of testing. I find it fascinating that this is genuinely a developed personal repertoire. It's like you've written down what you do.
it works for me. You know, I don't preach or judge others for doing things differently. This is what works for me. I'm 5 books in now, and at first when I had this method, I wasn't sure if I was doing the right thing. Am I doing the right thing by the people who are buying my books? Am I looking over
I think you were. They were absolute bloody bestsellers straight out the traps. Let's be honest, Sabrina.
You know, the funny thing is that doesn't. Having a bestseller is one thing. That's great, yes, because that keeps, you know, that's good for me, good for my publisher, good for everyone. But actually, what I really care about is, what are you doing with my recipes at home? Are you happy? Do you feel like, yeah, you know what, I don't really cook, but actually I can do these. These are accessible, achievable. I don't like it when I've picked up books in, you know, 20, even 30 years ago, and I picked up books and I looked at a recipe and made it and it looked nothing like that. And I just thought, have I done something wrong? I think I failed. And I felt the failure was my failure. And actually, looking back at lots of recipes, I'm like, it wasn't mine. It was this is not sort of well written, and it was overcomplicated, or that wasn't explained properly. I just want to keep matters simple, because I want to be the book. I always want to be the book that's somewhere within the vicinity of your kitchen, covered in crap, burnt, stained, you know, because you just use it. And then when you use it, sometimes you just know, Sabrina won't mind if I swap this and I don't have that, and now we add this because we like butternut. Go for it. That's happy days for me, because I think a good recipe is versatile and should be versatile, not baking, never baking. And true science, but I want to inspire people to do things that are easy to add into their lives on a weekly basis, and
what's also important, I think, is that you do write beautifully, because there's a definite vicarious. Well, the thing is, not everybody does cook every night all the time for their family. It doesn't mean that doesn't stop them reading it and loving it. And I think that's actually a great thing, and it's a great skill to actually be able to write about something so you can eat it. You can eat it through the words as well as you eat with your eyes and you eat with your mouth. Having said that, I would much rather be there right now munching on a kebab rather than...
You'd have my mum fighting. She'd be like, Tim, I don't know you, but you need to move out of the way.
That right off.
Kebab is like, there are so many things that she's really particular on, and when I say particular, I mean difficult. And you know, like kebab, she'd literally elbow you in the face to get to this particular kebab tonight. So.
I feel we should really invite her in. Everybody's got to see what this wonderful woman is like. Not a joke.
I mean, they know. I think a lot of people that follow me on Instagram know her, because she does get stopped in the street quite a lot. She'll text me and be like, I'm in Zara and somebody's staring at me and I think they might be one of your followers. And then I'll get a message going, I think I just saw your mum in Zara.
Well, to be fair, my mum never gets stopped, but I've got all my little nephews and nieces trained that every time they go to a bookshop, they find their uncle's books and pull them out sideways and turn them around. Yeah, gotta be done. It's creative infant marketing. Oh God! So the book's available everywhere. When was it launched?
So it was out on the 20th of August, and it is available in all good bookshops, supermarkets, all, you know, it's pretty much everywhere, thankfully. So you can get it online if you want. There are lots of good bookshops online, that some that have signed copies as well. So definitely available, and definitely worth getting, because it's lots of different sort of, it's really simple, easy stuff, and stuff that's not necessarily that simple, but not like mind-numbingly complicated. But there's stuff for special occasions, and then stuff that when you just really can't be bothered and you just want to throw something together. And
do we think ideal Christmas present?
Yeah, we do. Of course we do. To be honest, as they say, the truth is out there. The feedback I've had and the amount of posts that people are putting up using hashtag Simply Sabrina, you know, I don't have to say anything. The kind of book that very thankfully has been speaking for itself, with people sort of telling me that how much they cook from it, and it's only been a few weeks, so it's a very good start. And yes, I do hope it will make ideal Christmas presents for many of you and your friends. And
I think it's worth saying for all of us at the moment that if Amazon say they haven't got it in stock, their bloody lying just persist. I think all of us are having trouble with that at the moment.
And I can't believe you said Christmas.
Yes, damn it, why not? Listen, we've got to say, we're going to have to go in just a second because there's things pinging all over my screen now saying, shut up, wind up. And every time you and I get together, we drone on for hours. So I hope we haven't sent anybody off to sleep or anything. We should say thank you very much to everybody for tuning in. Also, to reiterate what Cyrus said in the earlier section, obviously, I think Abergavenny Food Festival is the most important and interesting festival of the year. Also, we get to see backstage what's going on, and they need the money that we spend there to make the thing happen. And this year, we're not there spending the money. So even though I'm doing the drinking, and even though I'm getting to socialise with my mate, this is not going to fill their coffers. So if you can spare anything at all, please contribute just a little to keep us going. And then next year, we will be there, and we will be drinking, and we will be having fun. So thank you very much indeed. And Sabrina, it's even lovely to see you on my tiny little screen in my knackered little study. Really sweet. Thank you so much. You've almost made it that I don't miss Abergavenny, but I thank you very, very much indeed.
Thank you so much for having me.
Goodbye.
Bye.
So hello friends of Abergavenny. As you know, in the past couple of years, we've had some misfortunes at Abergavenny with bad weather, and now this year, unfortunately with COVID-19, and the festival does need your help and support to keep it going. I have been going there for 21 years now, and I do want to continue going there for much longer. So if you would like to donate, any cash you would like to donate, just to keep that festival alive and going, we know it's one of the best festivals in Europe to go to. So please keep it going, please support our festival, and the information is just down there for you to log in and donate. Thank you.
So you think you could tell